All right. Hi and welcome. My name is Alex Salty from Future Funding, your funding specialist. Kicking off an amazing year, we're bringing all our viewers an exciting program we've put together called our Business Hero Series. And as the year unfolds, we're going to showcase trusted and respected businesses all over Australia. And the best part is introducing you to the real people behind these incredible businesses. And joining me today, our very special guest, Steve Brossman. Welcome along, Steve.
Hey, Alex. I'm super excited to be here, buddy.
Thanks for coming. I'd love to just there's so many questions I want to get through, and probably the best thing to do first is give our viewers a bit of an understanding of who you are and your history, and I'll try and nut it down as brief as I can. So you're a former national professional track champion. You're a multi-Amazon best-selling author. You've created several 6 and 7 businesses of your own, 7-figure businesses, I should say, of your own. You've had over 20 years experience in TV and video. And even showcased a program on Channel 9, and as well as being an executive producer on Warner Brothers. You've been recognised as one of Australia's most experienced video presenters and trainers. And in 2012, you were named internationally the #1 video marketing influencer of the year. You're today known globally as the Authority Catalyst. Steve, I know many viewers would love to know how and where did the Steve Brossman journey start?
It sounds like I started in nappies trying to fit all that in. Mate, I got to tell the story. I actually got into business by accident. You're right. I was a professional track athlete. And, one day, like any normal day, I was training for the Olympics and did my normal routine and got on the blocks and pushed out and fell flat on my face and I couldn't get up. Wow. All that work had basically crushed 3 discs in my back, and it was like, okay, one day you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and the next day you can't get out of bed. But it was through rehab that I fell in love with the fitness industry. And I thought, you know what? I think most of these people are doing it wrong. I think I could do it a different way. And that was the journey. Don't do it the same as everybody else. Look to be different. Don't compete on an even footing. And that's basically what I did. Is while everybody was competing in the body beautiful and the fitness and the aerobics, I created programs for the deconditioned, for the overweight, the weight loss, the kids, the seniors, all of those people, the 85% that nobody was worrying about. I went and helped them and created some very, very successful businesses, both here and overseas. That was the start of it all. And by learning that as to break away from the competition, all the rest of my businesses and my coaching has really flourished.
So you specifically mentioned you took on an opportunity where rather than do what everybody else was doing, you started to do something that was a little bit different. And that's a bit of a brave move. And I think it was interesting you said right at the end, your coach. So who was it that you actually coached with, and what was the influence part of all of that that made you sort of try that switch as a big risk in your life,
It was probably naive arrogance more than a coach. Is I just looked at everybody competing against each other, and I'm a competitive bastard. I always like to win. And I thought that if I had to go up against all these big body beautiful gyms and things like that, I'd have to throw millions of dollars building it. But I thought, well, okay, I'm really going to go after the different market. And through one success led on to another and led on to another. And I was tucked away in the middle of the Hunter Valley doing what I had to survive. We had 5 gyms in 5 miles, and it was really, really competitive. And then the outside world found out what I was doing. I went to a national conference, and they said, what are you doing? I said, well, I've got kids programs. I got weight loss programs. I got this, I got this. I said, really? We don't have that. Then it was like, okay, do it well once, and then package it up and then sell it to everybody else. So we actually licensed or franchised the kids club into 5 countries. Nobody was doing weight loss. We were getting our butt kicked by the weight loss industry because we were selling hard work and sweat. And the weight loss industry was selling aspirations and dreams. Yeah. Wow. And I thought that was a really good marketing lesson. Instead of selling what thou shalt do, what do they really want? What's going to change their life? And people will pay more for that. And I packaged that up and licensed across Australia and New Zealand. And every time I did something, it was like, well, what is the mainstream doing? And how could I be that little bit different? because once you're different, you can hit the top. You could be the leader. You could be the authority on something that's over here where the majority is competing over here. And that's always been the philosophy of everything that I've done and everything that I've been working with my clients on.
How did you gauge yourself? So when you were saying you started to do something that was different and you were listening to what your clients were saying, how did you gauge that from your clients? Was it through, obviously you were interacting with your clients, but how did you gauge what you were doing different was becoming so successful?
Quite often it's money in the bank and we're not going broke. That's always a good gauge.
Yeah.
But also the results for people. And we'll go back to the fitness industry and we'll go back to all the different other businesses, is how can I better serve more people? And at that point of time, there was really only 3 to 5% of people going to gyms because it was, the big bodybuilders. They were, scaring everybody else. And nobody was providing that comfortable environment. We didn't have a mirror in the whole gym, except in the change rooms.
Wow.
There was no mirrors. And all the bodybuilders would come in and say, well, where's the heavy weights in the mirrors? And I said, well, they're down the road at the other gym.
Yeah, okay.
Like I was doing short-term fitness programs that somebody would get in, they do their program, they'd be out in 40 minutes. And they don't tie up all the equipment. Now, if you ever worked in FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, they will judge the turnover per square millimeter on a shelf. They've got to have a quick turnover.
Yeah.
Well, I was profitable because I would have 3 times as many people going through my gym at half the size. Because they'd come in, they'd do their workout and go. They'd come in, they'd do their workout and go. And they were just constantly going through. Whereas, the bodybuilders, they'd come in at, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, stay till 9, and they'd hog, half the gym.
Yeah.
So it was business sense as much as, hey, listen, I want the biggest and the prettiest people coming to my gym. Yeah. I threw ego out the window and it was all straight business. How can I serve? And I don't want to call them, well, they're the less pretty group.
Yeah.
They're the ones that come in the daggy tracksuits and they're not the tight leotards. But they're the real people. And every time along the way, it's like, oh, how can I serve the real people to give them better results instead of the flashy people that just makes me look good?
Yeah, and hang around.
Yeah, and hang around. So I guess that's been a philosophy of mine all the way through.
Yeah, and so it's interesting listening to that, because obviously as you progress through that, how did you challenge yourself every day? How did you manage to stay on top of your game with that? Because a gym is literally, it's an all-day event, isn't it? So how did you motivate yourself just to be consistently doing that?
Yeah, I set lofty goals. And the kids club program, I didn't actually take off by accident, but it was well planned. We had one kids club. We had 15 kids coming to our gym. And then, I said, you know what? Channel 3's got a kids TV show. I reckon we should have a segment on that, just doing kids exercise. So, I put a proposal into them. It got there on the desk on the Friday. I was meeting on the Tuesday, so I guess they liked it.
Wow.
And we were filming within 2 weeks, and we lasted 2 years until the whole show shut down. That gave massive exposure, and we took it out to one of the schools. And we said, hey, kids, we're going to do an afternoon class. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And we had 250 kids in the quadrangle, all hot and sweaty, going crazy. The teacher's saying, we could never get them to exercise. And on the spot, I said to the kids, hey, kids, how many would like more of this? How many would like to come to this of an afternoon? And all the kids put their hand up, and I thought, oh. So I went straight back to the gym, locked myself in my office for about an hour, drew the whole thing up, and I said to my sister, who was my business partner, this is going to be a global network. Trust me. She said, good on you, get back to work. And in 5 years, we had it in 5 countries. So it was always believing that there was more. My running, all I ever wanted to do was win the last high school athletic carnival. I'd never represented the school, never done anything like that. Got a coach, trained my butt off, kept going. And at the end of that, he said, you're doing pretty good. You've got to state finals. You might go okay at this.
Yeah.
So there was just always that one more step. There was one more step. And in my book, Exceed, I always talk about, now you set the goals, you set the momentum goals, and then always look for how you can do more than is required. Always look, what can I do today that I don't need to do? What can I do today that's going to get me there quicker, faster, or bigger? And that's always been the case. And then like one thing led to another. And for me, just wanting to win a school sports to being the youngest ever national professional track champion was only just one step at a time, and believe that I could get to the next step. And I've always had total belief in myself because I've set the right things, always bitten off more than I could chew, and then just chew like crazy.
Yeah. And it's really exciting to hear coming from a business owner side and talking to a lot of business owners. You've gone from running a gym, finding a niche in a gym, but also keeping aware of an opportunity, any opportunity. So you might not have been aware that a TV show opportunity was going to be around the corner, but picking up, from what you heard about the kids and turning it into a program, all of a sudden creates another, avenue where, you've just gone into the stratosphere of opportunities. And that's obviously listening to your bio. It's one thing follows after the other. And it's like you said, it's that being alert and being aware and staying on top of it is such a key. And it's really good for business owners to, understand that. It's so important in business today, not just stay where you are, Yeah,
Alex, that is just brilliant, because a lot of people get stuck in their box. And I was just reading some marketing the other day from one of my old mentors, getting back through some of the old notes. And he said, most business owners look within the same business or category to see what they could do, instead of looking outside at other successful businesses in other industries. And how could I bring that back in? How could I use that in my industry? And some of the most successful things that I've personally ever done and been able to get my clients to do is like, well, hey, listen, if we do this because it's successful over here, we could bring it in and implement it, and then make it successful. Like one of the funniest stories of my life and or business, but it's a 7-figure funny story, so I might as well share it. Is I was living in Neutral Bay, walking down the street as the smokers were being kicked out of buildings. Indoor smoking was just totally banned. And then everywhere there were cigarette butts, and I could see them everywhere. And a lady pulled up virtually in front of where I was living at the time, finished her cigarette, throw it back out. And I was going to pick it up. I've always wanted to do this. Pick it up, throw it back in. I mean, she was wearing a nylon dress. She was going to go up in flames and I was going to go to jail. And that wouldn't have done anything. And then I said to my mate, and I said, we've got to do something about cigarette butts. They're everywhere. We're sitting at Balmoral having a coffee. And he said, yeah, they are. And then you switch your reticular activator system on, and then you just see them everywhere. And a couple of coffees later, I said, mate, I think I've invented the first ever personal ashtray. And he said, well, they've been around for years. And I thought, oh, stuff. And then one thing led to another, and I got this crazy brain. And one night I woke up, butt, cigarette butt, human butt. What if I put a bum on a personal ashtray? Created a personal ashtray, fire retardant, and a little flip top so they can put their cigarettes in. So I combined humor, marketing, behavioral science, engagement, all of those sorts of things into this, instead of calling the smokers all sorts of names, but please look after the planet. We went the other way, and as a result, we sold 4 million of these plastic bums into 26 countries because we did it differently. We looked outside and we thought, well, what's working over here? And let's bring it into this industry. And within a very short period of time, we just dominated the market. We won environmental awards, did all sorts of different things just by stepping outside and doing things different. And it was a pretty crazy time. That all my friends in the fitness industry said, Steve, you know, you've been in the industry for 20 years and now you're making $1 million off smokers. And I said, yeah, well, I'm also cleaning up the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But what a crazy opportunity to come from someone just throwing a cigarette butt. I mean, you know, to come up with something like that is just mind blowing.
Yeah. And one of my favorite ever clips of a movie, and I've used it in probably illegally, but I have used it in some of my seminars, the end of the movie Dumb and Dumber. And you know, they're walking away from wherever they were. They're walking down this road. A bus pulls up. These gorgeous bikini girls hang out the door and say, hey, listen, we're looking for 2 guys to oil us down on our bikini tour. And one of them said to the other, they said, you are in luck because there is a town that way. It's only 5 miles. And the girls looked at each other and said, okay, cool. So the bus starts taking off and one said to the other, are you stupid? Do you know what you've done? And he ran off, knocked on the door. He said, my friend is so thick. The town is actually that way. And then the bus takes off and they look at each other and they said, you know what? There's going to be 2 lucky guys going to be traveling around with them, oiling them down. Yeah. When are we going to catch our break? We just have to keep our eyes open. And honestly, I see some business owners that are so ingrained in what they're doing. There are opportunities jumping up all the time.
Yeah.
And even in the last 12 months with COVID, I've started 2 new programs and businesses because of the new opportunities there, just capitalizing on the skills that I'd already had, but had to repackage and refocus them a different way to capitalize on new opportunities. And you're the same.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. So there's so many things that, you know, I'm sure everyone's going to want to know about, but listening to everything that you've sort of said, what would be the, to help people go into the next level of business or to sort of see where they start to focus themselves, what would you suggest yourself that would help people grow their business to the next level? What pointers could you give?
Well, every business has the human side to it. And the people that I work with, they sell some nuts and bolts, they sell services, they sell what's between their ears, they sell all sorts of things. One of the best things that you can do to stand out is become an authority on something in your business. Now, it might be the way you do things. It might be your background. It might be you created a system. So take ownership of that and actually be prepared to stand up and stand out. As the title of my first book, Stand Up, Stand Out, or Stand Aside. It was almost going to be called Be Different or Bugger Off. But my wife, who basically is an Amazon coach, said, no, you can't do that. But that's it. You've got to be different or bugger off. Stand up, stand out, or get out of the road because everybody else is. And I've written a lot over the last 18 months about the dynamics of buying habits. It's now in the hands of the consumer. Search engines, algorithms, the internet, everything has made it so much easier to be compared with other people. Yeah. The power is in our hands, the consumer. So that's taken it away from you. So you can't just be the same as anybody else now because they'll just shop you on price. So the first thing is positioning, how to position yourself differently, position yourself as a leader. I've got another saying, it is your perceived position that predicts your profits. And that is true. Yeah. The other thing is a lot of people sell what they do, not what it does for them. So I don't care. You know, you could tell me, Steve, look, it takes me 47 hours to process a loan. Well, good on you. I don't care about what it takes you. I just want this process, whether it takes you 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 days. I'm paying for the outcome. And when people can turn around what it is they do in a way that's perceived as a valued outcome, I get it, I want it, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
It's that clear. So they're the first 2 things that are the platform, because you'll often hear and have marketers come to people and say, oh, you just need to spend more money on this. You just need to spend more money on SEO. You just need to spend more money on advertising. But if you're advertising a brown box, the brown box syndrome. It's not until you unwrap it that you see that there might be gold in there or not. But if you're sitting on the shelf, you've got two brown boxes behind. Oops, hit the mic. Two brown boxes behind you there.
Yeah.
If you're sitting on the shelf the same as everybody else in a brown box, then put up with it, because you're going to be compared on price. You need to stand out and be so clear on what I get when I pay you money. So they're the biggest ones to do first.
That's awesome. And I know there's going to be so many people when they look at this, there's so many things that go through people's heads, because they'll obviously look at evaluating where they are in business today. And I know people are going to have questions, and I'm sure at the bottom of this link, I'm going to make sure that we have some way that they can reach out to you direct if that's necessary. But we spoke about previously, you've got something super special for our clients on how to achieve or get a copy of your pocket guide, the self-selling secrets. Would you like to give a bit of a plug on
Mate,
that?
I'm actually going to we'll change the link and we'll put it in there. And I've added it to your personal enterprise book and workbook, because I think it'd be more valuable.
Beautiful.
And that's all about you creating your own personal enterprise, treating you as your own personal business. Whether you're the owner, whether you're an employee, you really should treat yourself as a personal business. The other thing is your personal operating system. And there's a complete section in there on how to be super productive, your morning routines and all of those sorts of things. That's all in a little pack that I've put together called Your Resurgence, how to create a resurgence in 2021, as well as the back pocket guide to self-selling secrets. And that, apart from being hard to say, and that is a sequence that I have with my people, and I use myself on how to have people coming to you actually asking to buy before you get to the part of the close. And that's quite valuable to learn as well. It's using a lot of the latest cognitive neuroscience that's coming out of America. So that's a little trifecta, and you will have the link for them to go and grab it as my gift to all of your people.
That's awesome. And I can assure you, a lot of people are going to get really excited when they see that. It's going to be fantastic. And finally, as part of our Business Hero series, Steve, I'm always going to hit my guests up with a very special question. It's probably going to be the hardest one. If you could be a superhero, any superhero in the world, who would it be and why?
I haven't changed my mind, and we spoke about this. And to me, it's Iron Man. He is a mere mortal. And sometimes I feel like I am too, but anyhow, he is a mere mortal, but he can adapt himself for most situations and to be able to fight most superheroes. He can create his multiple of defenses and attacks. And really that's what you need to be. You can't just be a one-dimensional superhero, because somebody else is going to take you down. But if you are able to adapt to your environment and capitalize on your own strengths, but then also build on top of some of your weaknesses, that's why he is who I would choose to be as my superhero.
Awesome. That is so cool. As I said, I'm going to put that link for your sales tools that you've got available to our clients. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, Steve. And thank you so much for coming along. And anyone who wants to reach out to Steve, please click on that. And I'm sure he'll get back to you as soon as he can. My name is Alex, your funding specialist, and we're going to have another fantastic Business Heroes coming really soon. Thanks again.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks.